Would 10 quant hypothetically be good enough? Well, I don't think it's too bad, even though nothing I say is financial advice. However, some people may be thinking, how is that maybe good enough? Well, in a make-believe scenario, let's say quant were to go to the price of $2,000. Now, at that point, if that were to happen, 10 quant would be worth 20 grand. Now, again, some people may be thinking, who cares about 20 grand? However, my response to that is this. Let's say I saved 50% of that, so 10 grand, and I used it for the next cycle. Let's say, for whatever reason, during the next cycle, this 10 grand does a 10x, becomes 100 grand. Now, again, some people may be thinking, oh, take a look at this person who gets 100 grand a year and all this. I'm totally aware of that. Like, some of my friends out there, they earn quite a lot per year. Let's say like 150, 200, 100 or whatever like that. But then in a lot of cases that I see, they don't have that much in their savings, let alone their portfolio. Now, I think a major reason why probably is excessive spending. Like, for instance, consistently traveling, going to a lot of these activities like concerts and raves, which, by the way, I don't mind. But then a lot of people that I know out there, they keep going to so many expensive car payments for cars, which are very expensive. Also, eating out consistently, buying random depreciating assets. So when I consider the expense, not what's coming in, like just what they're spending overall, considering the kind of spending patterns that I see a lot of people that I know out there have, being able to, let's say, save 100 grand in a lot of cases that I see is not such a easy thing to hypothetically achieve. So when people like to say, oh, 100 grand, who cares? Well, to me, again, I see a lot of people out there, they don't have that much in their savings or let alone their portfolio. So that's my mentality when it comes to this. However, there is no guarantees or anything like that, but in just make-believe scenario, if let's say Quant were to go to the price of $2,000, that is around a 17x from here. Now, considering current circulating supply and market cap at that point would be around $24 billion, let me kind of discuss the around 17x part first, because sometimes people out there like to say, who cares about that? Well, let's think about Bitcoin or Ethereum. What are they going to do in the next 6 months, let's say? If Bitcoin were to go to 300 grand, that's less than a 3x from here. Also, Ethereum go to 10 grand is less than a 3x from here. So if a lot of people out there are saying, oh, wow, imagine if Bitcoin went to 300 grand and all this, and then they're very enthusiastic about that, then suddenly they see around a 17x maybe, and they're like, oh, it's not good. Now, I can't tell anyone to do anything, but to me, if someone asked me Quant, Bitcoin, or Ethereum for the next 6 months, arguably I would have to say Quant, because to me, less than a 3x, it doesn't really excite me, but this is just my mentality. However, also, a unique thing that I think Quant kind of has is that if we take a look at the maximum supply when it comes to Quant, now it's going to be depending on a different exchange or whatever, or like a site, but usually it's around that 14.5 to around 14.6 all the way to around 14.8 range, or should I say around 14.8 million, in that kind of range. And when I take a look at that right there, we have to consider Bitcoin's maximum supply is 21 million. Now, I get it. Bitcoin is always going to be more popular than this. So when people like to say, oh, Bitcoin is rare, I actually think this is arguably more rare, because even if we if we remove 5 million Bitcoin from the maximum supply for whatever reason, in that make-believe scenario, that would mean 60 million is the maximum supply at that point. That's still over 1 million more than Quant's maximum supply. So I think that's just some food for thought right there. It's not like I'm saying that this is going to be more popular than Bitcoin, because I think Bitcoin is always going to be more popular. But then, again, I think Quant, relatively speaking, is pretty rare. Now, being kind of rare, I don't think is the main contributing thing, because, of course, there's other factors like the fundamentals, which is why, again, when I see the fundamentals of Quant, which I'm going to get a little bit later on into the video, I just kind of feel like going to the price of $2,000 hypothetically and reaching a market cap of around 24 billion, which is approximately $60 billion less than Dogecoin's all-time high market cap back in 2021, I just don't find that too ridiculous to me. And again, when it comes to the fundamentals of Quant, the reason why I'm a fan of it is because if we take a look at the Quant network, it's made up of two things, right? First is the Overledger OS, and the second is the Overledger network. But then the Overledger network is made up of the Overledger OS users. So I'm just going to kind of skip that and just straight away talk about the Overledger OS, because the Overledger OS allows something called a multi-chain application to be built. It's an application that is built on top of multiple blockchains instead of just one. So no longer do people have to quite essentially be stuck building on only just one blockchain, because building on only just one blockchain there could be disadvantages there, right? Even though there are the advantages too. So if let's say I want to build an application that, for instance, for whatever reason, wants to take advantage of the speed of the Stellar blockchain, Stellar, very popular, right? We take a look at, and let's say combining the aspect of the Bitcoin blockchain's, let's say, reliability and security, I could arguably do that through the Overledger OS. Again, building an application on top of multiple blockchains instead of just one, hence the name multi-chain application. That's how amazing it is. Now, granted, adoption isn't the best, but this type of stuff usually takes quite a while. However, nonetheless, I do like the concept, and I think time and time again, it's kind of been proven that usually during this, moment of a fully fledged type of altcoin season, people typically care about the story, the narrative, and kind of the, I would say, hype surrounding the project as opposed to the adoption. And I think that this one has a pretty good narrative, so I'm still a fan of Quant nonetheless. However, all I can do right now is just stay patient. That's about it. I cannot tell the future because I don't have some magic random crystal ball or something like that to know. And also on top of that, if I pulled up a price chart, drew some random triangles, even at that point, I still wouldn't know what would happen in the future. So what can I do? I can just stay patient, hold, and that's it. However, at least I can take a look back in history and see how usually altcoins, as a worst case scenario, they typically peak around 18 months after a Bitcoin halving event, and 18 months from the last Bitcoin halving event would actually mean around October this year. Now, that's not a guaranteed date, and we're kind of close actually to October, but if let's say it were to happen in December or even Q1 of next year, I still wouldn't mind because I've been waiting a long time anyways, so it's not really like something that I would find too long. I mean, I've been holding Quant ever since 2022, so imagine that. That's a long time now. But even besides all that, I'm still staying patient, I'm still holding, and that's the only thing I can control. I get it, along the way, I've been holding Quant. I've seen Pepe do a lot better, right? I've seen something like Bonk, in terms of percentage price increase and whatnot. I've seen all that. But then at the same time, I'm still holding Quant because I feel like I've been holding this long. You know what? I'm just going to wait and see. And I still like the fundamentals when it comes to it. So I'm staying patient. I like the community. I like the exchange listings. And I like the fundamentals. That's pretty much about it. But then again, in this video, I just want to talk about real quick about the hypothetical scenario of, let's say, 10 Quant and whether or not I would consider it good. However, to me, I wouldn't find that disappointing, arguably, in my opinion, even though nothing I say is financial advice. And feel free to subscribe if you enjoyed this video. I would greatly appreciate it. It's Willie the Captain, and I'll catch you all in the next one. I'm out. Peace. Bye.